Right, so it is the start of March, which means I'm going to do my now monthly tradition of going over everything that I watched and everything that I read through the previous month, that being February. And I'll be completely honest, February was a very light month. Talking about the things that I watched, it was really only Wonder Man. And I've talked about my thoughts on Wonder Man on stream before, but I haven't done a dedicated video on it. And all I really have to say about it is that it's really good. It's really good. It's a really, really solid first swing of what is essentially one of the most crucial years for the MCU. This is about as crucial a year as 2018, I want to say. This is as crucial a year as 2018, because we have a movie coming out in December, which is as big a scope as Infinity War, if not bigger. Avengers Doomsday is looking really, it's looking like it's going to be a spectacle. We have a Spider-Man movie which we've seen nothing about, only Punisher's in it, Hulk's in it, maybe Daredevil's in it, but there's a lot of rumours and conjecture about that film. I just want to see a trailer just to see what is that movie going to be about. And, seeing rumours about, apparently we're going to see, The Other being adapted. And that's essentially the story of Spider-Man going into a cocoon and metamorphosizing and him getting organic webbing. So we have now lived long enough to see a comic book movie be an adaptation of a comic book that was, or we've lived long enough to see a comic book movie be inspired by a storyline that was inspired by a comic book movie. But anyways, Wonder Man itself, really good. I didn't expect to care about Trevor Slattery. I know a lot of the marketing towards Wonder Man made it seem like it was just going to be another silly, jokey comedy show. And it is that, but it's also a character study. It's a deep dive on the behind the scenes of being an actor. It's a deep dive on the mental state of being an actor. It's also, a deep character study of the character of Trevor Slattery. And, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is great as Wonder Man. It's a really cool show that doesn't fall into the same traps of other MCU shows where they kind of just go too big for their britches. It doesn't rely on a big CG fight scene at the end. It doesn't really rely on having a villain or having the main crux of this show is getting cast in this movie, making the movie, and trying to avoid damage control throughout the course of this movie. And it's just a really cool show. It's just a really cool show. As far as books that I read, it's only really one, and that was I got finished with the Eisenhorn Omnibus. This basically, I've been reading this while I was reading Wind and Truth and after, because my copy of Wind and Truth is too nice and too big to carry on the bus with me. So this is what I was reading on the bus. Obviously, bus journeys don't give you a lot of time to get a huge amount of reading done. So that was about 2 months of reading this exclusively on the bus or while I was out. Outside, and then when I finished Wind and Truth, that was when I really put in work with this one, and I got it done yesterday. I'm going to do a dedicated video of this on this, but to give you the cliff notes of my opinions of this, the second half, or essentially Hereticus and the Magos are definitely the better of. Hereticus is the best of the Eisenhorn trilogy. The Magos is it's a sequel. You can't read the Magos without having read the Eisenhorn trilogy beforehand, but how it's structured is completely differently. It doesn't center around Eisenhorn. He's very much a background character in that book, but it does definitely rely on you having that previous knowledge. What I will say is, I think this may be trying to tell me I don't like first-person POVs in books, because the Eisenhorn stuff, Xenos, Malleus, and Hereticus, those 3 books in this, I found much harder to get into than Magos. And once we got into that half of Magos, it might be because I was finally starting to see the end of this book in sight, but I was just ripping through it. I was just, getting through pages and pages. I definitely felt the pace kind of pick up, and I think it has to do with the Eisenhorn trilogy is very much action all of the time, and I just wanted a little bit of downtime, and the Magos was predominantly downtime, and that one felt very much more like a slow burn, and it left all of its climactic action to the end, and that was more fulfilling to me than the Eisenhorn trilogy was, where it was just here's an action sequence. Basically, we have to fit an action sequence into every single chapter. I just didn't get on with that. However, I will be talking more in depth in a upcoming video talking about the Eisenhorn trilogy, which I will probably get done. I'll probably get done hopefully tomorrow, as of this being uploaded. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the comics that I read. Again, very light stack of comics this month. I do have quite a bit more on the waiting list for next month, and next month's probably going to be a much quicker or a much more. I'm probably going to get through a lot more next month, not only because there's just more days next month, there's more time real estate next month, but also because a lot of the stuff that I have on the pipeline is a lot shorter than Eisenhorn as well. I've got some One Piece I want to dabble in, obviously the comics that I'm going to get to first. I've also got Discovery behind me as well. Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. John, Amy, and Jacob Minton. A channel that I only recently found. But yeah, I'll talk more about what possessed me to buy that book when I get around to talking about it, like, after I've read it. But yeah, I just felt like that's one that I really wanted to get, one that I really wanted to talk about. But anyway, comics that I read last month, I read Infernal Hulk issue 3. This is the sequel series of Philip Kennedy Johnson's Hulk title. So this is basically just a continuation of that story. It's just got a different name. I'm really enjoying this. This is basically just, so the Hulk is possessed by demons. He's, being a big problem for a lot of people, the greatest superhero community. Where is Bruce Banner while all of this is going on? Because the two have been separated. The Hulk's off doing his own thing, smashing up the place. Where is Bruce Banner? This is basically telling us where is Bruce Banner, and it ends with Tony Stark and Reed Richards finding Bruce and basically asking him, look, I know you've kind of divorced yourself from the Hulk, but if he carries on like this, there's going to be nothing left. What are you going to do about it? And basically Bruce is just like, yeah, it's not my problem. Yeah, it's not my problem anymore. I got myself out of that situation. I want to stay out of it. And we kind of end the book, and the tease for the next issue is it's every alternate version of Hulk versus this kind of like demon, or this infernal Hulk. So very excited about that. I have been really enjoying Philip Kennedy Johnson on Hulk. It's more of that kind of like Stephen King-esque. If you liked The Immortal Hulk by Al Ewing, this is kind of more of that. This is more of that kind of tone, where it's kind of turning the Hulk into a Stephen King monster, more than your, like, traditional superhero fare. I just knocked my tripod. I apologize. That's gonna look terrible. Oh well. I also read Superman issue 34. This is another DC KO tie-in. I've realized because I'm not reading DC KO, I have no idea what's going on in Superman at the moment. Essentially, this is more about what is Superboy Prime and Lois Lane doing while Superman is in the big event book. I'm liking this. I want to get out of DC KO now and just kind of go back to what Superman was doing before that. I want to go back to, because look, a lot of Superman, especially after issue 35, or especially after issue 30 anyway, after issue 35, after issue like 25 even, a lot of this has been, but especially after issue 30, a lot of this book has been either lead up to or tie-ins into DCKO. And look, I've been enjoying Superman, but I want it to kind of do its own thing and not be like the charge into whatever new event is coming out. I don't want Superman to keep being the event book. I just kind of want another story at this point. I'm kind of getting a bit run down with all of these like tie-in issues. It's not a bad book by any means. It's just I want it to kind of get back to telling Superman stories instead of just his big event. Here's what Superboy Prime is doing during the big event, or here's Lois Lane getting her powers back. Here's, here's other stuff that isn't what you're buying Superman to read. But yeah, talking about Joshua Williamson, I picked up Iron Man #1 because, A, I like to check in on Iron Man every so often, and B, it's Joshua Williamson writing an Iron Man book. He has done Marvel stuff before, but he's definitely more synonymous with DC and being basically the architect of what is going on at DC at the moment. This, where, Superman, Green Arrow, other Joshua Williamson books have felt like they're definitely leading the charge of that universe, that being DC. This feels like an Iron Man book through and through. This, if I were to say anything as a mild criticism, maybe a little bit safe. Maybe playing a little bit safe to stick with the Iron Man crowd. But there's none of those annoying Iron Man tropes. And like I said, and I will preface this is only issue 1. The tropes could come very much by even the end of the first arc. But there aren't any of those tropes of Iron Man being a recluse, or Tony Stark being a recluse, or Tony Stark being an addict, or even Tony Stark being a womanizer. That's not really in the book at the moment. What is in this book is Madame Mask, classic Iron Man villain. She's essentially kidnapping future prodigies, she's trying to make the new Tony Stark. Because in her mind, it's not the Iron Man armor that is the greatest weapon in the Marvel Universe. It's Tony Stark. And the armor is only as good as it is because Tony Stark built it. Anyone else who's tried to build an armor to rival Tony's armors has failed. So she's essentially trying to engineer a new Tony Stark. So that's and she's doing this by using a kind of crowdfunding scheme that Tony's set up. Essentially, he's finding prodigies and funding their scientific endeavors, basically. And Madame Mask is scrolling through this list of brilliant minds and essentially nabbing them, for lack of a better term. So yeah, this is a really fun first issue, and it does feel like an 80s comic. It feels like David Michelinie. It feels like seminal Iron Man run kind of vibe that I'm getting off of this book after only one issue. But I have both trust in the author that their previous work has been really good, and I have a decent first issue. I don't want to call it really great, because there have been first issues that have made me feel more, or made me be like, I really need to continue this series. That's not what this has done, but from books like Superman, I can kind of tell Joshua Williamson is one of those long ride kind of writers. So this first arc might not be the big story. it might not be the kind of like bombastic thing, but I think we're going to build up to something really big, and we do have a tease for possible new Illuminati that's going to be trying to deal with whatever Iron Man's doing. So that's kind of your like B plot. You've got your A plot of Madam Mask being like freaking Madam Mask doing Madam Mask things. And then you've got your B plot of like Captain America's going to fight Iron Man again. There's possibly another Civil War brewing. And I think that's more your like leading into big events further down the line kind of stuff. Because we do have like the current Captain America book is leading to an event. But that's leading to an event alongside Wolverine. I have a feeling that Iron Man might tie into that. But who knows? And that is it. That is it for everything that I read this month. Like I said, Eisenhorn I've got another video planned for, so I'm not going to be... so I didn't want to dive into that one too much. And, out of 3 comics, I'd say 3 for 3. All of them were good. I didn't dislike any of them. I just think Superman is at that point where like with 34 issues in, it's a run at this point. Joshua Williamson is in the middle of a run. I feel like an issue 34 of a run, as long as it's not a 34 issue long run, and it's the final issue, I feel like an issue 34 can afford to be a little bit because you've had 33 issues leading up to it that have all been great, and then you've got, it's not the final issue. There's issues coming up after it, so it doesn't need to be the most big bombastic thing. It can be just another issue of Superman. Infernal Hulk was still very early on in that story, so it's still very much like giving you information and telling you where characters are. And Iron Man first issue, debut issue, kind of has to hit the ball running kind of thing, and kind of has to engage the reader and set a tone for what is this book going to be? Where is Tony Stark at this moment? Who are the backing characters? Who's the villain? What's their motivation? What is this book going to be about? And stinger for the next issue. Or stinger for a potential B-plot that could lead all the way into Arc 2, possibly. Yeah, I enjoyed everything that I read this month. There was not a bad thing, even stretching into media-wise. There hasn't been a bad thing from February that I've noticed. Video game-wise, I did finish Final Fantasy 16. I feel like maybe the ending of that dragged on a little bit, but I enjoyed my time with that game. I have just started Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying my time with that quite thoroughly. I'm noticing a little bit of jank, but it's fun jank. It's nothing that's like keeping me away from the game, or it's nothing that's ruining my time with the game. Anyway, final thing that I want to address before we close off the video. I do want to thank people for 1.1k, 1,100 subscribers. That's something that I've been in the throes of 1,064, 1,065, constantly going up and down. From me hitting 1,000 to 1,100, I think it's been about 5 years. I think it's been about 5 years to gain 100 subscribers in that time frame, because it's just been ebbing and flowing. So yeah, I'm really just thankful for getting to this point. I'm really excited to see where the channel goes. Obviously, within the last 5 years, the channel looks completely different now than back then. We're talking about books now, which I wasn't doing 5 years ago. Certainly, I wasn't even doing it 3 years ago. We're completely changing. Streams are happening on YouTube now, which they weren't happening 3 years ago, or they might have been happening 5 years ago. I'm in a different house. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 5 years, and I'm just very excited to see where we go next, what the future holds. I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you guys tonight on stream, hopefully. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Leave a comment in the comments below. Let me know what you've been reading this month. Anything good. Let me know if you're reading the same comics as me. Let me know if you've read the Eisenhorn Omnibus or any of the books from the Eisenhorn trilogy, Magos. I doubt anyone's read any of the short stories divorced from the rest of the series. Technically, Eisenhorn is like 4 books. So technically I've read 4 books. Technically I've read 2 books, at least, this month. So, but anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Hopefully we can hit 1,200 subscribers in a quicker time than it took us to get 1.1. But anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace.